Good morning, student. In this lecture, we understand that what are the abnormal operation happens when we operate the three-phase converter as a rectifier and as well as inverter. So here first we understand that the first abnormal condition or abnormal operations that happens in the rectifier when we operate the three-phase converter as a rectifier operation in the HVDC converters. So first is the arc back. So what is the arc back? So this is nothing but a one type of fault that refers to the reverse conduction of the valve. So when it is happens, so this is happens only when inverse voltage appears across the valves. So as we know that in the rectifier operation, each valve conducts for the 120-degree duration. Clear? So it means that for the rest of the 240-degree, the valves is remaining off conditions. So in out of 360-degree, two-third time or two-third cycle of this total period, the remaining valves are remaining off conditions. Yes. So suppose this valve 1 is conducting, so that is conducting between 0 to 120 degree. So between 120 to 360 degree, the valve 1 is remain off conditions. Clear? So during this time, the reverse voltage appear across the valve 1. So what happens because of the reverse voltage? Sometimes because of the high reverse voltage, some minor current is flowing in the reverse direction across the valve. Clear? And sometimes because of the high reverse voltage, they may break down these valves and they may create the short circuit. So let's understand that how this arc back occurs. So suppose that high reverse voltage appears across the valve 1 and from the lower group, suppose the valve 4 is already conducting. So what will happen? That creates the short circuit. Or maybe sometimes they create the short circuit between the two phases. So to prevent or to avoid this short circuit in the three-phase converter, here we provide the bypass valves. Yeah. So the function of this bypass valve is that when this type of abnormal condition or arc back is occurs in the operation of three-phase converter during the rectifier operation, because this normally happens in the rectifier operations, because this two-third time of the cycle, two-third of the cycles, the valve is under the reverse voltage. That is only happens in the rectifier operation, not happens in the inverter operation. Clear? So this arc back is normally happens in the rectifier operation of the three-phase converter. So to prevent this, we provide the bypass valves. So when this type of abnormal condition happens in the converters, the whole current of the converter that is bypassed through this bypass valves. So your controller, they sense this type of faults. So at that time, the controller remove all the gate pulses of these valves, and this bypass valve is on at that time. So all supply current is transferred to this bypass valve. Yeah. When we transfer from bypass valve to the main valve, so at that time remove the gate pulse for bypass valve, and again control circuit provide the gate pulses to all these main valves. So again current is transferred from this bypass valve to this main valve. So by this way we can protect the converter against this arc back. So I hope you understand this arc back. That is normally happens when we use a mercury arc valve. This not happens in the thyristor valves. It means at this time we use the thyristor as a valve, but before the invention of the thyristor, we use the mercury arc valve. So in the mercury arc valve, this type of problems occurs continuously. So at that time we use the bypass valve. But nowadays it is not required to use this bypass valve because we use the thyristor as a valve. And that is not happen in the thyristor because thyristor has a large voltage withstand capacity in the reverse direction. So this is one of the phenomenon or one of the abnormal operation happens in the converter, HVDC converter, when it is act as a rectifiers. Now next abnormal condition is that the commutation failure. So what is the commutation? As we know that the turn off of the outgoing valve and turn on of the incoming valve, and that happens in the operation of rectifier as well as inverters. But this commutation failure abnormal condition is more commonly happens in the inverter operations, because in the inverter operations the incoming valves and outgoing valves has not sufficient time to completely on and completely off. So as we know that in the inverter operation, here you can see that we take the example of the commutation between valve 1 and 3. So you can see that here this is a phase crossover point between between phase 1 and between phase A and B. So here we take the alpha 150 degrees. So you calculate the alpha for valve number 3 from this omega t is equal to 0. Clear? Because this is a phase crossover point between A and B. So if you calculate alpha 150, so it is comes here at this point. So at that time, what is the commutating voltage? That is a voltage between B and A phase. Clear? So you can see that during this commutation here at this point, the commutation is over. It means the valve 1 is completely off and valve 3 is completely on. At this point, valve 3 is on and valve 1 is completely off. But suppose commutation is not over here, and suppose commutation is completed after this phase crossover. So what happened? After this phase crossover, the commutating voltage becomes negative. Your voltage EBA, that becomes negative. And once the commutating voltage becomes negative, it is not possible to commutate the outgoing valves. It means your valve 1 is remain on if the commutation is not completed before this phase crossover point. So this phenomenon generally happens in the inverter mode because the inverter mode has a very small margins for the commutation of the outgoing valves. So let's understand here. You can see this commutating voltage EBA. Here it is a 180 degree. After 180 degree, this commutating voltage becomes negative. So before this commutating voltage becomes negative, your outgoing valve means valve number 1 must be off. So you can see here the current wave shape in the valve number 1 and valve number 3. So you can see here the commutation start from here. From here you provide the gate pulse to valve number 3 and valve number 1 start commutating. It means current is decreasing from the valve number 1. But you can see that here when it reach at 180 degree, what will happen? The commutating voltage after 180 degree becomes negative. So when commutating voltage becomes negative, your incoming valve current is reducing. You can see that the valve I3, that current is reducing because now the commutating voltage becomes negative. And here the valve number 1 current that is increasing. Clear? In normal condition, what will happen? The current flowing from the valve 1 that is continuously decreasing, and at the end of the commutation, the current flowing from the valve 1, it means I1 becomes 0. But here it is not happen. Why? Because the commutating voltage becomes negative. Clear? So because of that, the valve 1 is still continuously conducting. You can see that again the valve 1 is conducting its normal current ID and valve 3 is completely off. You can see that here in the waveform, valve 3 is completely off here. Clear? So that is happened because of this commutating voltage become negative. So our aim is what? To commutate your outgoing valve before this commutating voltage becomes negative. Clear? So why this happens in the inverter operations? So that normally happens because of the high direct current or low alternating voltage, or sometimes late ignition of the valves. Suppose you want to fire the valves at alpha 150 degree, but because of some fault in the control circuit and late ignition of the valves at 160 or 170, so what will happen? Your valve will not completely off. Its valve 1 is not completely off before this commutating voltage becomes negative. So what will happen? The valve 1 is continuously conducting and your incoming valve is remain off. So what is the abnormal condition happens because of this? So as we know that the conduction period of the valve 1, 3 and 5 from the upper group, and same way from the lower group 4, 6 and 2. So you can see that here in the operation of the inverter, here the commutation is completed. In this operation, this commutation is completed before the commutating voltage becomes negative. You can see that here after this phase crossover, EBA becomes negative. But here commutation is over here. So this abnormal condition is not happen in this operation, in this waveform. But suppose that your commutation is not completed before this phase crossover. So what will happen? The valve 1 is continuously conducting for the next cycles or next duration, and valve 3 is remain off. So here you can see from the lower group, at this angle the valve 4 is start conducting, and as we know that valve 1 and 4 are on the same leg. You can see the circuit diagram of the three-phase converter. Valve 1 and 4 are in the same leg. It means they get the supply from the same phase. Clear? So when both these valves are conducting, what will happen? That will short circuit your supply. Clear? So same thing happens here. When the commutation is failure, valve 1 is continuously conducting for the next duration, and at this time when valve number 4 is conducting, so what will happen? Your supply phase is short circuited. Clear? So because of the commutation failure, your supply is short circuited, and that damage the valves as well as that damage the transformers. So to avoid this, normally when supply is short circuited, as we know that we provide the supply from the converter transformer. So normally your converter transformer winding is short circuited. So to prevent this transformer against short circuit damage, we provide the high insulations. So again that will increase the cost of the converter transformers. Same way that may can damage the valves because the high short circuit current. Clear? So to avoid this type of abnormal condition, you provide the transformer with the high withstand capacity of insulation, and you provide the thyristor which has a high current carrying capacity. So again, to remove this commutation failure or abnormal conditions in the inverter operations, you require the high cost of converter transformer as well as converter valve. So let's see here in the operation, you can see here in the waveform also, you can see that commutation of valve 1 is start here. But at this point what will happen? The commutating voltage becomes negative. So because of that, again the current flowing from the valve 1 is increasing and current flowing from the valve 3 is decreasing. So valve 1 is continuously conducting for the next duration. Here valve 4 is conducting. So during the period when valve 1 and 4 both are conducting, in this duration, at that time your supply is short circuited, and possible that can damage the transformer if you not provide the proper insulation to the converter transformer, or sometimes they can damage the valves. So these two are the abnormal condition happens. One abnormal condition happens in the rectifier, that is nothing but arc back. To remove this arc back, we use a bypass valve. But nowadays this abnormal condition is not happen because we use the thyristors. Thyristor, this type of abnormal condition is not happens. That happens only in the mercury arc valves. Second abnormal condition happens in the inverter operation, that is called as commutation failure, and that is occurs because of the low supply voltage, high direct current, late ignition. On combination of this problem, the short circuit happens at the AC side because of the commutation failures. So next topic, now we understand this is a control of the HVDC system. So what are the control characteristics we use when we control the HVDC system? So that we understand in this topic. So as we know, the single line diagram of the monopolar HVDC system, you can see that this is a single pole or single cable of bipolar system. Here this is a three-phase AC supply, converter transformer, rectifier, DC line, inverter, converter transformer, and three-phase AC line. Clear? We already drew the equivalent circuit based on the mathematical equation we have derived when we operate as a rectifier operation and when we operate as a inverter operation. So this circuit VD0 cos alpha, RCR and VDR, this equivalent circuit gives the operation of rectifier. RL, that is the DC line resistance. This RCI VD0I cos gamma, that is equivalent circuit of the inverter operations. If here we write this cos beta, then this commutating resistance is positive RCI. Clear? So this is a equivalent circuit single line diagram, and this is a voltage profile along the HVDC transmission line. So at the sending end side here, at the rectifier side, voltage is VD0 cos alpha, and some of the voltage drop across this commutating resistance. As we know that commutation happens, and because of that some voltage drop that is represented by this resistance RCR in the rectifier operation. So out of this VD0 cos alpha, some voltage drop across this resistance. So finally at the rectifier end you get the voltage VDR. So you get the voltage VDR here. So you can see that the voltage profile is reduces. Now in the transmission line the voltage is remain almost constant, because the value of transmission line resistance is very small. But again, there is a slope, negative slope in the transmission line because of the voltage drop. Now at this inverter end, the voltage is VDI. Here voltage drop across this resistance RCI during the inverter operation because of the commutation. And here at this end, receiving end, you get the voltage VD0I cos gamma. Yeah, so this is a single line diagram, equivalent circuit and voltage profile, the HVDC transmission line. Now, as we know that from this equivalent circuit, the current flowing into this DC line, that is nothing but VD0 cos alpha minus VD0I cos gamma divided by this resistance RCR plus RL plus this minus RCR. So that's why here the current is ID is equal to VD0R cos alpha minus VD0I cos gamma plus divided by plus all this resistance. So this is the current flowing into the DC line. Here suppose you put the cos gamma in terms of cos beta, this commutating resistance is positive. Clear? So power at the rectifier terminal, as we know that the power voltage at the rectifier terminal VDR into ID. So power at the inverter terminal, that is nothing but power at the rectifier terminal, this one PDR minus I square R loss happens in the DC lines. Clear? So from these equations of ID, we can see that the DC voltage and current at any point in the line can be controlled by controlling the alpha in the rectifier case and gamma for the inverters. So when we want to control the voltage and current at any point of the line, we provide the rapid action control by using the Farry angle control. So you can see that here initially we use the rapid action Farry angle control, then followed by the tape changing transformer to restore the converter quantities. So as you can see here, the equation of ID, we know the value of this resistance are very small. Clear? So when we require the voltage and current control in the HVDC line, at that time we require to control this alpha and gamma. Clear? So if we control this alpha and gamma rapidly, then we can control the voltage and current in the HVDC line. Clear? Suppose that we want to control the current. Suppose in the HVDC line, this current ID is fluctuating. Clear? And we want to maintain this ID is constant. So how to maintain this constant? So for that we require to continuously control this alpha and gamma. So because of that, to continuously control alpha and gamma rapidly, we can use the firing angle controls, or we use the control circuit of these controllers, rectifier control and inverter controls, because this control is very fast as compared to the other type of the controls. Second way to control the voltage and current in the HVDC system is a tape changing transformer. But again, the tape changing transformer is not a very fast response to control the voltage and current. Clear? So first we use the gate control, because it is a rapid control system to control the any parameter of the HVDC line, normally voltage and current, and then after we use a tap changing. Why? Because tap changing has a very slow response. It gives us changing in the step takes the 5 or 6 seconds per steps. So when we require the rapid control of current, we first use the gate control and then followed by the tape changings. And during the tape changing control, we again restore the value of this alpha and gamma, because as we know that the alpha and gamma has a proper range of the values. We cannot use the alpha more than certain limit or less than certain limits. Same way for the gamma. We will understand what is the limitation of, or what is the range of alpha and gamma in the operation of rectifier and in the operation of the inverters. So at this point, keeping in mind that when you control the any quantities, suppose voltage or current in the HVDC line, first we provide the gate control for the rapid action, and then after we use the tap changing control. And both these control are used in a complementary manner. It means when you first use the gate control, after that when you use the tape changing control, at that time you remove the gate control using the control circuits. It means you keep your alpha and gamma in the normal range when you use the tape changing control system. Now, when you select any control strategies or control characteristics for the HVDC converter, at that time you keep the following points which is influence the operation of the HVDC converter. So first point is that the prevention of the large fluctuations in the direct current due to the variation of the AC system voltage. So as we know that when the converter transformer provides the AC supply, and if the AC supply is very fluctuating nature, so because of the fluctuating supply voltage, the direct current, DC current you get at the DC side, that is also fluctuating nature. So in this condition, you have to provide the proper control action so that you can maintain the direct current constant, because we know that in the HVDC system direct current must be a constant. So how to provide this control by using the converter? So as I said that the controller of the rectifier, that is very efficient to provide these controls. So as we know that in the equation of this ID, the value of this resistance is very small. So if we change the very small value of VD0R and VD0I by keeping alpha and gamma constant, that makes the ID very fluctuating in nature. Clear? Suppose we change the VD0R and VD0I 25%, so that will change this direct current about 100%. Clear? So to avoid this fluctuation of the direct current because of the variation of the supply voltage, we continuously provide the control of alpha and gamma using the control circuits. So alpha and gamma control continuously makes this current ID constant in the rectifier operations. Second is maintaining the direct voltage near the rated value. So as we know that the voltage profile in the HVDC system, that is fluctuating. So to avoid this fluctuating voltage profile in the HVDC line, we must provide the control actions so that we can maintain the direct voltage near to the rated value. Third parameter we consider when we design any control characteristics for the HVDC system, that maintain the power factor at the sending end and receiving end, and that are as high as possible. We will understand in the next topic what is the reason to maintain the high power factor. And last one is the prevention of commutation failure in the inverters and arc back in the rectifier by using the mercury arc valve. But nowadays we not use the mercury arc valve, so arc back is not happens. But yes, possible that the commutation failure happens in the inverter because of misfiring of the valves or late firing of the valves. So when we design any control circuit for the HVDC controllers, we keep in mind all these 4 points so that we can provide the efficient control of the HVDC system. Now next point is that why we require the maintaining the high power factors. So first reason is the maintaining the high power factor is that to keep the rated power of the converters as high as possible. Because if the power factor is low, the converter is not operated at its rated power. It means we not effectively utilize the converters up to its maximum capacity where it is designed. So keep the rated power of the converter transformer as high as possible for a given current and voltage rating of the transformer and valve. So for that we maintain the high power factor. Second reason to maintain the high power factor is that reduce the stress in the valves. If the power factor is low, then more amount of current is flowing into the valves in the high loading condition. So due to that the high stresses happens into the valves. So to reduce the stress in the valves, the power factor must be as high as possible. Third reason is that to minimize the loss and current rating of the equipment in the AC system to which the converter is connected. So if the power factor is high, the current rating of the equipment which is connected with the AC side, that rating is reduces. So ultimately when current rating is reduces, the cost of the designing of this equipment is reduces, and we also minimize the losses. Another reason is that to minimize the voltage drop at the AC terminal as the loading is increasing. So if the power factor is low, what will happen? As loading is increases, more amount of current is flowing. So because of that, high voltage drop happens. So to avoid this or to minimize the voltage drop at the AC terminal during high loading condition, you maintain the power factor as high as possible. And Another last reason is that to maintain high power factor is to minimize the cost of reactive supply to the converter. Because as we know that the reactive power is required when there is a lack of reactive support at the both the end of the converter. And the reason of lack of the reactive power is that is nothing but poor power factor of the converters. So to minimize the source of reactive power or minimize the cost of the reactive power at both the end of the converter, you must maintain the high power factor. So because of all these reasons, because of the all these reasons, we maintain the high power factor in the rectifier side as well as the inverter. So here the power factor, it means that is depend upon the alpha in the rectifier operation, and that in the inverter operation that is depend upon the gamma, that is called as the extinction angle. So to make the high power factor, to achieve the high power factor, the alpha in the rectifier operation and gamma in the inverter operation should be kept as low as possible. Then and then you get the high power factor. So rectifier operation there has a minimum alpha limit of about 5 degree to ensure the adequate voltage across the valve before the firing. So why this is a minimum alpha limit in the rectifier operation? So that is due to that, as we know that before we fire the valves, the positive voltage that appear across the thyristors. So this positive voltage before the firing that is used to charge the supply circuit which providing the firing pulse energy to the thyristor. It means this voltage energize the control circuit which provide the gate pulse to the thyristor. So if you not provide the minimum value of alpha, it means you not get the proper supply voltage for this firing circuit, and they not generate the proper gate pulses. So to provide the proper energy or to provide the charge from the supply, we provide the minimum alpha to the thyristors. Suppose you provide the alpha 0, so it means from alpha 0 your valve start conducting. So at this time what will happen? Your firing circuit not sufficiently charged. So to make this supply circuit or control circuit sufficiently charged to provide the proper gate pulse, we provide some minimum value of alpha, and that is about 5 degree. So the rectifier is normally operates at a value of alpha with the range of 15 to 20 degree. So what is the reason that it operated 15 to 20 degree? One of the reason to maintain the alpha more than 5 degree, that is to provide the continuously charge the firing circuit. The another reason is that to maintain the alpha within the range of 15 to 20 degrees, that to provide the voltage control in the DC power flow. Because if you provide the alpha, firing angle alpha to each valve continuously 5 degree, and this is the minimum limitation. So again, suppose that you require the higher voltage at the DC side. So with this alpha 5 degree, you cannot achieve the higher voltage because alpha 5, that is the minimum limit. It means alpha is equal to 5 degree, you get the maximum voltage at the DC side. Clear? So to provide the control volt DC voltage at the DC side, you must provide the alpha within the range of 15 to 20. So when you operate in 15 to 20 in the normal operation, and at that time suppose you require the high DC voltage at the DC side, so that at that time you can reduce the alpha from 15 to 5 degree, because you have the range between 5 to 15 degree. But if you initially operate your converter at 5 degree, and suddenly if the voltage required at the rectifier DC side, then you cannot increase the voltage by changing the alpha, because alpha 5 is the minimum angle limit. So that's why normally we operate the rectifier in between the 15 to 20 degrees. So that may leave some rooms in increasing the rectifier voltage to control the DC power flow. If you control the voltage, then and there you can control the powers. Clear? So because of that, this reason you maintain the alpha between the 15 to 20 degree. Same way in case of the inverter, it is necessary to maintain the certain minimum value of extinction angle to avoid the commutation failure. So as we know that what is the extinction angle? You can see in the circuit diagram, in the waveform of the inverter operation. So this gamma is nothing but extinction angle. This is the margin is provided to completely off the outgoing valves. So here you can see that the commutation is completed, and after the commutation is over, this sufficient time is provided to the valve number 1 to completely off. Clear? So you must provide the some minimum value of this gamma, so that the commutation failure is not happen, or the chances of the commutation failure is reduces if you provide the more and more value of this extinction angle. But again, the reason of not providing the higher value of extinction angle is what? The power factor. You can see that in the power factor cos phi, that is depend upon this cos gamma. If you increase the cos gamma to avoid the commutation failure, what will happen? As gamma is increases, cos gamma is decreases, so that will reduce the power factor. Again, this type of problem is created. So here our strategy is what? To maintain the power factor as well as to maintain to avoid the commutation failures. Clear? So you must provide the some minimum value of gamma. Clear? So to provide the high power factor as well as commutation failure is not happens. So what is the range of this gamma? So it is important to ensure that the commutation is completed before with the sufficient margin for to allow the deionization. So this margin is provided, this gamma is provided because of the deionization of the valve number 1 when commutation happens between valve number 1 and 3. So during this period, the minority charge carrier that is flowing from the valve number 1, that will completely wipe out and that becomes completely off, or we can say that this is a deionization. So this deionization must be completed before the commutating voltage becomes reverse at alpha 180 degree. As we see in the waveform of the inverter operations, at 180 degree the commutating voltage becomes negative here at this point. Clear? So before the commutating voltage becomes negative, the commutation is completely over. So for that you provide the sufficient margins. Clear? So now you can see that the extinction angle gamma, that is equal to, we know that beta minus nu, and nu is that is nothing but overlap angle, and that depend upon the ID, DC current and commutating voltage. So at the DC side we know that continuously ID is changing because of some changing in the load condition. So because of the possibility of changes in the direct current and alternating voltage, even after the commutation has begun, the sufficient commutation margin above the minimum gamma limit must be maintained so that we can avoid the commutation failure. So typically the value of the gamma with the acceptable margin, that is 15 degree for 50 Hz system and 18 degree for 60 Hz system. So here we have the range for the gamma, that is between 0 to 15 degrees, and same way the range for the alpha is between 15 to 20 degrees. So you can see here, to maintain the power factor, maintain the high power factor at the inverter side, you must provide the some minimum value of gamma. But again, this minimum value of the gamma which is sufficient in such a way that the commutation failure is not happens. Clear? Because the commutation failure is happens because of the minimum value of gamma, because the outgoing valve has not sufficient time to completely off, and because of that this commutation is happens. You can see here, if you provide the minimum value of gamma, very small value of gamma, so what will happens? Your outgoing valve, means valve 1 will not completely off in this duration because the gamma is not sufficient angle to completely off this valve 1. So because of that, the valve 1 is continuously conducting even after this commuting voltage becomes negative, and once the commuting voltage becomes negative, the commutation will not happen from valve 1 to valve 3, and valve 1 is continuously conducting. So you must provide some minimum value of gamma in such a way that you get the high power factor as well as commutation failure is not happens. Clear? So I hope you understand this control phenomenon of the HVDC system. So in the next lecture we will discuss about the control characteristics of the HVDC converter during rectification operation as well as during the inverter operations. So I hope you understand this concept. First we discuss this in this lecture. We first discuss the abnormal operation. There are two abnormal operation happens. One is the arc back, that is normally happens in the rectifier operation when we use the mercury arc valve. Nowadays it not happens because we use a thyristor as a valve. Second abnormal condition, that is commutation failure, and that happens because of the late firing of the valves as well as maybe sometimes because of the low supply voltage, high supply current. This type of commutation failure is happens, and because of that the short circuit is happens at the supply side. To avoid this short circuit or to damage to avoid the damage against this short circuit, we provide the converter transformer with high withstand capacity. So again the cost of the converter transformer is increasing as well as the valve rating is increasing because we provide the high withstand capacity of the thyristor valve. So again cost of the thyristor valve is increasing. So to avoid these commutation failures, we provide the proper insulation to the converter transformer as well as provide the high rating of the valves. Next, we understand the control phenomenon as HVDC system. So we know the first single line diagram, equivalent circuit, voltage profile, then the equation of ID. So from the equation of ID, we know that is depend upon the alpha and gamma. So that control of the ID that is achieved effectively and with quick response by effectively control the alpha and gamma. So alpha and gamma both are controlled in a rapid manner by the control circuit of the converter, rectifier control the alpha, inverter control the gamma. So first we control the alpha and gamma to control the ID by the rapid firing angle control, and then after we use the tape changing transformer. Tape changing transformer and firing angle control both are in the complementary manners. Then we see the what is the basic consideration when we select the control characteristic of the HVDC system. There are 4 criteria when we select any control characteristic. Then we see the what are the reason of maintaining the high power factor at the rectifier side as well as the inverter side. So because of all these 5 reasons, we maintain the high power factor at both the side of the converter in the HVDC system. And then we find out what is the minimum value of alpha limit for the rectifier operation, what is the maximum, what is the minimum alpha minimum gamma limit in the inverter operations. So I hope you understand this concept. Thank you.